Just a friendly reminder that the opinions expressed on this show are not worth a Canadian penny, so disregard anything you hear that might get anyone in trouble. And despite some of the great ideas you may hear, don't try them at home. Go to a friend's house instead.
It's time to get a gun. That's what I've been thinking. Well, I could afford one. And if I did just a little less drinking, time to put something between me and the sun. When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.
Hello and welcome to episode 169 of Slamfire Radio. Today is August 26, 2016. I'm one of your hosts, Adriel, the hunting gear guy, Michaud.
I'm another one, Trevor. I'm back from my cross-Canada adventure for latte.
I'm Matthew, happy that Trevor's back as well.
And I'm Kelly, and I'm happy everyone's here.
All right.
Well, for what we did in guns, why don't we start off with Matthew?
Yay, that's me. So remember last week when I said I didn't do nothing?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
apparently I have terrible memory. I wrote it all down on my phone and then neglected to check it and completely forgot that I pulled off some epicness. But we'll get back to that in a minute because I'd like to end on a high note. So I did some dry fire. So I used my Glock airsoft, but I didn't use pellets, but I did use loaded mags with gas. So is it like wet fire then? Because I'm shooting, there's like the slide
Gassy
going, but
fire.
nothing's coming out. What is that?
Gassy fire.
Gassy fire. So I did some gassy fire practice with my my airsoft Glock. So that was kind of fun. And I shot the air pistols a little bit too in the backyard, just plinking, just having some fun with them. I haven't shot them in a while. And then I got out to the range with Matt and Thomas Bryant's Swiss Arms, and we had a really good afternoon at the range, and I finally got the rest of the footage that I needed and put together a review video. So any of you who haven't been on our Facebook page lately, you should check that out, and you can see Thomas Bryant's gun in action, and it's a really nice rifle. I really like it. Aside from its weight, of course, because it weighs almost 11 pounds. So that's a heavy rifle for a 223. But the nice news is it's light on recoil because it weighs 11 pounds.
How much does it weigh without the scope and mount on it?
I'm not taking his scope off. I'm not
good
that
point.
kind of guy. I'm the kind of guy where if a man puts a scope on a rifle, I leave it there and I don't move it around. That may or may not be a dig at somebody from our past. However, we'll continue on.
You mean you don't move another man's scope?
That is what I said. Yes.
Ain't that something?
Ain't that
Oh,
something?
you just walk up and just give the turret a quick little spin around.
Or just say, I know more than him, so I'm moving it to the correct location.
Yeah, you're shooting a little bit to the left here. Let me get a spin for that.
Let me fix that for you.
Oh, I do that to Filthy. I took
Yeah,
Filthy's
yeah.
gun. I took, what I did in guns. Yeah, I'll come back to that. I gotta add that to the notes.
It'll be your turn in a minute.
Yeah, it's my tune in a minute.
It'll be your turn in a minute. I can't even spoke. So anyway, that's what I did with this with guns this week. Now last week, I got out and did some off-roading with Curtis and my nephews, Chris and Liam, and we went just sort of into the back 40 of my parents. They got a whole bunch of property, and we have a couple of favorite shooting spots because they're old gravel pits, and so we got these awesome berms that are quite high, and we can just do some shooting and have some fun, and there's a little stream that runs through, so it's just an ideal spot just to go hang out, skip rocks, shoot guns, have some fun, whatever. So we're back there, and Curtis had his 22. It's a Marlin 795, same as what I've got, except he's just got the regular factory stock on it, not the ATI stock that I have on mine. But open sights, just your stock standard 795, and we thought we'd start doing a little bit of trick shooting. So we started off by picking some branches off of low-hanging trees and started picking, pine cones off. And then we progressed to shooting stalks of grass. So we'd pick out a particularly high stalk of grass and we would shoot the stalk and watch it fall over. So that was kind of neat. We're doing these at, 10 to 15 meters. So not super far, but far enough that it's impressive for somebody watching, you just shot a grass over. That's kind of cool. So these little bugs were buzzing around, and I told the co-host last week after the show, I said they were flies. They weren't house flies. They were these little I don't know. I don't even know what they were. They're kind of like a cross between a mosquito and a moth, for all I could tell. I don't even know what they were. But they weren't flying particularly quick, but they're about the size of a housefly. And I saw one go by, and the way the sun was setting at that moment, they were standing out just perfectly against the backdrop. And so I was like, hey, watch this. Completely kidding, of course. Raised the rifle up, pressed the trigger, and I shot the wings off of the bug. And it spiraled down into the water. And everybody just went, holy crap. And I, of course, was just as shocked as the next guy. But because I had been successful, of course, I tried it again and blasted another one dead on. Just that the fly was there. I pressed the trigger. It was gone. So
Matthew, pics or it didn't happen.
I know. All I have is witnesses, and I can get them on. They've all agreed to testify on my behalf. I can get them on the show for them to testify.
All been
but
paid off in full.
There was no video, no picture, of course, but it did happen. I swear, it was so epic.
My theory is, as the bullet went by, the pressure of the bullet simply knocked the wings off the fly.
There was no fly.
There was no second fly, I'll tell you that, because he vaporized. That bullet hit him dead on.
I've seen Matthew shoot rifle from standing. I would tend to believe it.
All I know is my nephews aren't going to cross me anymore. They know how I can shoot, so they're like, okay, you win, we will behave.
Yeah.
But yeah, some trick shooting it's always fun. Then you pull off those impossible shots, and that's even more fun. Usually, you do that, like, do it again. I'm like, nope, I'm done, because I knew it was just a fluke. But this time I decided to press my luck, and it paid off. But I didn't try for a third one. I was done after that. But anyway, that was the fun I had the last couple of weeks with guns. I think it's Trevor's turn.
Cool. Well, let's start with my vacation in British Columbia. I actually got to go out to the Abbotsford Fishing Game Club twice. Once I went out with a guy by the name of Charlie and his buddy Avi. Charlie's actually originally from here, and I met him here. And then he told me when I was out there to look him up and he'd take me shooting, and he did. So I'm looking forward to returning the favor now that I'm back here to take him out shooting. The highlight of that trip, well, a couple of things. One was I got to shoot his Cadex rifle. Now, Cadex is a Canadian company out of Quebec that makes amazing chassis systems for today's popular bolt-action rifles. But they've taken it to the next step, and they actually fabricate from the ground up their own rifle. I can't say enough good things about this rifle, so I won't even start. I mean, if you got $4,000 and you want a precision rifle, look them up. It's money very well spent. Unfortunately, we weren't shooting it past 100, but we were still walking them all in there in the same hole. Had this really cool muzzle brake on it. He has one in 308, but of course they make them in all kinds of different calibers. Just a fantastic rifle. I also met a guy there who worked for MDT. He was really cool to talk to. And I met a guy there with Press Check Venture mags. So some boys rolled in while we were shooting, and they brought out the black rifles and the pistols and stuff. So being me, I always go over to see what they're shooting, and if I say hello, and if I see something I haven't seen before, I just start talking. But I saw a guy with Press Check Ventures mags, and I'm like, how do you like those mags? Oh my God, I love them. And I'm like, all right, cool. I know the guy who makes them. So of course I was name dropping. I know him. I know Matthew. Unfortunately, I also met the world's biggest FUD.
Oh.
This guy was about 208 years old, and his idea of giving a safety orientation was telling stories about himself and his son. No word of a lie. Not only, the entire range was empty, and the Abbotsford Fishing Game Club has an archery range, a cool clubhouse with an indoor range, and then a bunch of outdoor ranges at different distances, all sharing basically a common shooting line with concrete walls in between. All the other ranges were empty. Here we are, the only two people on the range wanting to shoot, and what does this guy do? He stays right there. The range is empty. We literally stood there for 15 minutes listening to this guy tell stories. While he's telling stories, one of the new club members that was on this orientation is like, is this going to be done soon? Because I was told it would be over at 5 and I need to get to work. And then he starts chastising the guy. And Buddy just should have fired back and went, you know what, Putz? If you would just stay to the safety orientation, we'd be out of here. I don't care that your son's a pilot. Like, really. Anyway, the guy was fuddy. So much so that I actually complained to the president. I'm like, I know I'm not a member here, but this guy's got to be a problem. And then I spoke to some other members. Oh, I got to meet Nathan from Osprey Ordnance. He lives right up the hill from the range. He came down to say hello in person, which was really cool. But yeah, I guess this guy is a problem. He's doing this. I complained to the president about it. So the president is Rob Ing, an IPSC shooter. You may recognize him by his fangs. That's a story for another day. I saw $40,000 worth of landscaping. You know your gun club has a lot of money when they spend $40,000 on flower beds. Just saying, never in Restigouche. What else? I went out there again with Rod Giltaka, which was cool. Rod met me out there. Oh, I met Dawn. Kelly, I met Dawn in person.
Dawn Dealey, yeah.
She is
Great
awesome.
person, eh?
Yeah, man. She's got the sweetest CZ SPO1 Shadow I've ever laid my hands on. It's done up perfectly. The right grips panels are on there. The trigger is amazing. She gave me some of her IPSC loads to try. Accurate. Oh man, what a sweet gun. It makes me regret selling the one that I had here for a little while. What else? Well, and then Rod came out and we shot Rod's SIG P320 and his Glock and we ran a couple of drills. He had a nice piece of steel, so we were doing some Mozambiques on it. So that was a lot of fun. And then Rod took me up to his place for burgers, and I got to handle his XCR-L, the newest generation XCR. That sucker is back on the list. One of the reasons why I got rid of my XCR was because it was heavy. Well, they've gone key mod. They shaved the rifle down in all the right places. I always loved the manual arms in the XCR, but I hated how heavy it was. Well, now it weighs no more than a regular 16-inch AR-15. So if you got $3,000 to spend on a non-restricted rifle with AR ergonomics and controls, definitely look at the XCR again.
I could just sell Thomas's Swiss Arms and buy one, couldn't I? He wouldn't mind.
Do it, because
it's... You're okay with that, right, Tom? It's no big deal, right?
He's fine. He's totally fine. He's easygoing. He's obviously easygoing, or he wouldn't keep sending people his guns.
Yeah.
So.
And equipment.
Yes. Ruger Precision Rifle.
I've got his laser rangefinder here.
Yeah.
Adriel,
do you have a Ruger Precision Rifle?
Will's got one.
Will's got one, right.
Yeah.
Well, a buddy of Rod's came over, and he spent like 15 minutes showing me how his dope chart worked. Like, it was amazing the wealth of knowledge this guy has.
And did you have like the munchies afterwards, or what?
No, it's not the kind of dope chart at all. I know I was in BC.
I was just because it just made sense to me. You're in the West Coast, and dope and charts.
Not what I mean by dope. No.
Munchies.
So anyway, Ruger Precision Rifle, for the money, these things are cheap. Like, they're like, what are they, like $2,000, maybe $2,500, and they're a lot of rifle for that money. So
no, they're less than that. They're like $1,600.
Oh,
very well engineered for that. I mean, like they took their Ruger American Action and they made like the one thing that I think is really cool. They designed it to be from the ground up to be a precision rifle, and you can tell by things like the bolt telescopes into the buttstock.
Yeah,
that's not something you can get with an aftermarket, right? It's just like, it's so well designed.
It is. They've got an AR buffer tube on there, so you can put on any AR stock you want. The Magpul precision rifle stock will go on there, like whatever you want, or you can keep their stock on there. So the modularity is there. For $1,700, my God. No, it's a lot of rifle for that. I could definitely see myself popping on one of these, depending on what happens with my 308. Maybe I'll get one in 6.5 and keep my 700 in 308, because my 700's gone back, actually. So what else did I do? Oh, well, when I got back to Fredericton, I was staying at Filthy's, and Fred and I went out to his and Phil's range out in Tracy and did some shooting. We met a cool guy there from the military who I recommend that he listen to the show. Cool guy, although he had an SKS. I'm not going to hold it against him because he was a cool guy. Maybe, just maybe, sometimes cool people own SKSs. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've got to conduct some more research, but it's happening more often than not. I'm meeting cool people who own SKSs. So I try not to judge them, but I judge them quietly. What else? I reloaded some ammo because I'm headed to hang out with Matt Lorette and Andy Shan and Stephen Casey and who knows who else this weekend at the Nova Scotia IPSC Provincial Championships. I'm hoping that they're going to repeat some of the stages from the Nationals, because there's a couple that I want revenge on. I don't know. I haven't been on here since I went to the Nationals. I don't know if I was, but the Nationals were mostly awesome. Let's see. I sold an AR lower, but I bought a full AR, so that that makes up for it. I bought an STI Trojan in 9mm.
Whoa! What?
He tried to
What?
skim
You
over.
tried to sneak that by nice and quiet, but it didn't work.
AR and then SDI Trojan.
Yeah, just a little
I bought
1911
an STI.
here.
I bought an STI Trojan in 9mm. I didn't skip over anything. And then I
Yeah,
sent
but you
my-
kind of and then I'm gonna move on to something else real quick. Hopefully my
I
hosts
sent
don't
my
realize
308.
I just bought a 1911. But no. Carry on.
Okay, good. So I bought yes, I bought a 1911. I couldn't look.
Best caliber or worst caliber?
I bought it in the best caliber, 9mm.
Oh, you've strayed so far, Trevor.
Well, look, remember when we had the boys on? We had Andy Shan and Stephen Casey on, and they both shoot classic, but they shoot it in the man's caliber because your black belt's stupid. They shoot it in 45, and I always said if I did get a classic gun, I would get it in 9mm, and I would trick the heck out of it, right?
Yep.
Well, Lorette bought a Spartan, and a Spartan is almost a Trojan, except it has the arms core frame on it. It's finished by STI, and he brought it to the Nationals with him, and he had Andy work on it a little bit and do a trigger job, and I think install his safeties. He's got some nice blue Visa grips on it and a nice magwell, and I'm like, oh yeah, I could get after this. And I talked to him about the cost of the parts that he put into the gun, and I was like, it's going to be a long time before I do this. Well, let me put it to you this way, and I don't know if I should say this price on the show, but he didn't tell me I couldn't. So an STI Trojan right now at Freedom Ventures is about $1,700. Jeff Reese from the Calgary Shooting Center, if you don't shop there, you are in fact communist, sends me a text the other day and says, do you know anyone who wants to buy a Trojan? Now, I misunderstood his text. I thought he said, do you know anyone who wants to sell a Trojan? And I replied and said, nobody sells their Trojans, Jeff. They're the cat's meow. If you have a Trojan, you hold on to it. They've gone way up in price, blah, blah, blah. He says, no, go back and read. I said, do you know anyone who wants to buy one? And I said, oh, how much? $600. I said, well, send me some pictures. So he sent me pictures of basically a mint gun. So for $600, I could sell it tomorrow for $12, no problem. So why wouldn't I buy it?
As a 1911, how does it compare to a sewing machine manufacturer's 1911, or perhaps like a railroad switched and signal 1911? Would you say it's better, worse?
I listen. I'm not going to suddenly defend 1911s because I bought one. All right. Like somebody said to me, Trevor, I thought you hated 1911s. I said, yeah, I'm also an atheist, but I have a minor in religious studies. All right. Know thy enemy. That's my theory here. I will own the 1911 so that I can speak more educatedly. That's a word.
It certainly is.
I used it on a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's real.
Yeah.
So, if I want to speak with a certain level of authority about how bad 1911s are, I should own one. And every time it fails or pukes, I can come on the show and talk about how awful it is. And I can say, look, it's not just that I hate them. I own one. Trust me, they're junk. Think of it as research for the show.
There you go.
It'll make your What I Did in Guns very lengthy. So I approve.
Well, and that's a good thing because you always have been quite quick with what you've done in guns. So this will help you flesh out this portion a little bit so that
And
the
in my
listeners
defense-
get to hear more of your voice.
And in my defense, I tried to brush over this. And
You certainly did try.
You guys
Yes.
sucked me in.
Yeah.
So on to what I did. Filthy and the family of clones were here on Monday and Tuesday. It was awesome. We hung out and did a little bit of gun stuff, and tour stuff. But I sent my 308 back to him. He's going to take it to the gunsmith who built my Garand and tuned my M305. He's the one that checked the chamber with the go, no-go gauges. Well, now he's going to take a cast of the chamber to confirm what we suspect, and that is that the chamber was cut incorrectly and has an oval shape, which is causing the harder Lapua brass to crack. The Winchester brass is very soft, so it's not cracking because it's fire forming to that oval-shaped chamber. So if, in fact, the chamber is cut oval, what he'll do is remove the barrel from the action, cut I don't know how much off the back, whatever he has to, and then cut a new chamber, cut some more threads, and then reinstall the barrel. Currently, the barrel sits at about 22 inches, or exactly 22 inches. If I end up with a 20-inch barrel, so be it. I don't have access to a 1,000-yard range anyway, so whatever. Stiffening the barrel won't be a bad thing. Some people still think I can hit 1,000 with the right load out of a 308 with a 20-inch barrel. There's only one way to find out, I guess. And then this morning, all the guns from SummerSlam that were on the prize table, the restricteds, all those transfers have been initiated. And then I got a package in the mail from my dear friend Adriel. Don't ever.
You're welcome.
No, don't ever ask Adriel for a package. The things that he wrote on the box, I cannot repeat on this family-friendly show. The postman just dropped it and ran. It didn't help that I answered the door without a shirt on. I'm sure that didn't help. But the only
at least you were wearing pants.
I was wearing shorts, but they were like cargo shorts. The only thing that was written on the box that I can say on the air is, in certain parts of the box, it said, "For adults only," and I'll just leave it at that. And then right before the show, Snuffleupagus came by tonight with his 590A1 to have it looked at. The shell stop. There's the interrupter bars, and the one on the right side of the shotgun that stops the shell from coming until you cycle the action was not working. That part is worn and damaged, and the actual pump rails that go into the action are damaged. He did something off. He abused it somehow and banged up those parts, but good. So we placed an order with the Calgary Shooting Center, of course, to get some replacement parts and get that done. And that, in a nutshell, is what I've done since last time I was on the show, more or less. So,
Cool.
How about you, Adriel?
Thanks.
What have you been up to?
Well, so after having you guys out here, a couple weeks ago, I kind of think I need to get better at my pistol. So I booked a black badge course for September. So I kind of want to get into IPSC, get a little bit more competitive pistol shooting under my belt so that I can get better at pistol. I mean, my ultimate game is I really like 3-gun for now. So my thoughts are that if I can get really great at my pistol, it's going to help my 3-gun game. My shotgun is really competitive. My rifle is good enough, but I really think that the biggest room to gain here is my pistol. Now, after having you guys out and shooting at my last match here, which also happened just on Saturday, I did pretty good. There were 37 shooters out, which is about twice as many as we usually have. We have like 20. The match in July was like 22. And then for whatever reason, the weather was beautiful, and we had 37 people out at my last match here.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. It made for a long day. We planned our stages for like 20, 25 people maybe. So when 37 people showed up, we thought, okay, well let's try and see what happens. And then like midway through the day, it's like, okay, well, I don't think this is gonna work, but let's try anyways. Let's see. Maybe we can run them really fast. And I think we finished at like 6 or 6:30 p.m., which if you're doing a shooting day is long because you start at like 8, right?
That is a very long day.
It was a long day. In terms of my performance, the shotgun was good enough. I mean, I'm running top 3, top 4 kind of thing out of the 37 shooters for that. My pistol, I was really happy to report that my pistol was accurate. A little bit slow. Like when I watched, we had one shooter out there, Franklin. He's a good step above everyone at our range, and he doesn't often show up, but he showed up for this one, and he's faster on his pistol. But I was accurate enough, and I think I just need to work on my speed. So I'm actually really happy with that because previously my accuracy wasn't good, and that's where I lost. Just on my mics was killed my matches. I got 6th out of the 37 shooters.
That's really good.
I'm pretty happy with that. I could see that the shotgun really helped me. I could see that the pistol really helped me from getting really messed over. And lots of people looked at the FNS, and I think one of my buddies let it out of the bag that I had the FNS and I had these 40 cal mags. Because when I showed up, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're there with that cheater gun, aren't you? I'm gonna make some stages next time that are gonna screw you over." But yeah, it was a long day. I got a really good tan going now because I was out on the shotgun for a little bit too long, and yeah. So
come on, nothing beat the 8 hours of gopher hunting. I I still have epic farmer tan lines.
Yeah, well, over the year here, I got a pretty good tan base going on, at least for my neck. But yeah, it was a really fun match. A lot of guys out, and that's really encouraging. You know, I think 3-gun, you know, shotgun, rifle, pistol, it's got a little bit of everything. And if you're weak in one, but you can make up in the other ones, you know, you'll end up not so bad. And I think the thing that you learn from it is that there's so much to learn. So I really like seeing like 37 shooters out there, and I really like to see you know, that it's starting to gain in popularity. I'd love if more places in Canada took up the 3-gun nation rule set, for example, or like registered them as those official clubs, because there's not really a lot up here. I know, like, it's a lot more popular in the States. There's not really a lot out here. There's a club in Calgary that I think that does it. There's the club in Edmonton. There's another club in Edmonton, the Wild Rose shooting guys, and they're out of a club right now, so they're kind of like a club with no home, and that's it. Like, I don't know any other 3-gun sports in here in Alberta. Sorry.
At the Rescuers Gun Club, we run the USPSA multi-gun rules, simply because they're the closest to IPSC, and that's what most of us are familiar with, because IPSC is our primary shooting game out here. The rule book's pretty short. It's pretty simple. The reason why we went to the USPSA rules is because they cover specifically the rules surrounding transitioning from one firearm to the other, and the definition of an abandoned firearm, and the state that it has to be in if you're ever going to go down range of it, that sort of thing. And it just keeps everybody on the same page, safe, cut and dry.
Yeah, exactly. I like some of the USPSA rules. They've got. Do they have ABC zones on targets, on paper targets?
Yes, they don't do the like the 3-gun nation target is just like a
two
red
hits on
circle
target.
or a
Two hits, doesn't matter where, on
hits.
paper.
Yeah. So what we do is we use the IPSC scoring program with IPSC scoring zone targets, but we run the USPSA rules specifically for the rules surrounding, again, the transition between firearms, so that if somebody does something stupid, there's a rule there that you can attach to the disqualification.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
and like for example, they also say that a firearm is not abandoned unless you move more than a meter away from it. So we had this one stage once where you were on the ground shooting your shotgun through a port, and then there was a barrel next to the port. So most people assume the barrel was for you to put your shotgun in. So they shoot their shotgun, then stand up, put the shotgun in the barrel, then go back down, draw their pistol, and shoot the paper targets. Matthew and I just stuck the shotgun through the port, shot the steel, put the safety on the shotgun, laid it in the port in front of us, drew our pistol, and shot the paper of those standing up. And people are like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, can't I? You say I can't do it because you didn't think of it. But it wasn't abandoned because it was within a meter, and never at one time did we handle 2 guns at the same time. So yeah, we can totally do it.
Mm-hmm.
Gamers.
Yeah, there's some you know, the rules sets that you pick. I think it depends on your club. I mean, for our club, we need something that's quick to score and something that's easy. And I think,
well, the quick to score, as I said to you today, practice score is the standard. The only thing is you got to figure out how to synchronize all the tablets together. And if you don't have Wi-Fi, you need to dedicate something as a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that's way above my pay grade. We tried it once with Tom, and I don't know, did we ever get it to work, Matthew?
I don't remember.
I don't think we did.
I think he just kept track of it on his phone. The rest of us didn't have it on ours, so he did score it on his phone, but yeah, we didn't have multiple devices going.
Oh, we didn't. I thought we did that time. We tried it once, Mark Giroux and I as well, and it wasn't without its challenges, but it's anything that is new is going to take some getting used to, and you got to take the time to learn it. I'm happy using the paper, but the thing about practice score, Adriel, is when the match is done, the scores are ready. So you have instant results. And if you have a Wi-Fi, you can upload them to Practice Score's website as well.
Well, the nice thing about having 37 shooters is, like, I'm admin for our league, and because there was so much time between like me shooting, I updated the scores as I went along. I was done the scores like 2 minutes after the final shooter had shot. So I had everything. I'm just using Google Docs and a Google Sheet kind of a thing. But I think I'm going to look into that practice score because I want to be able to have us record it on the tablet itself. I think a lot of the time people, just by writing and yelling at each other, they sometimes write down the wrong score and or the wrong time. And I'd like to, and they've got to calculate like 15-second misses, 20-second no shoots, and it's
with practice score, the shooter so there's somebody calling the scores, and then the scorekeeper is inputting them into the tablet, and then he shows the final score to the shooter. So the shooter confirms the X number of A's, C's, and penalties and the time. And if the shooter is satisfied, clicking save is the equivalent of signing your score sheet. So when the shooter hits save, it's the same as the shooter signing the score sheet, and that's it. She's a done deal after that. There's no too bad, so sad. Now, the practice score works so well that it was actually utilized by Halifax at the Nationals this year. So they ran a paper copy backup for the competitor to have a stub, but everything was being done on the fly with practice score at the Canadian Nationals. So that's how far it's come. It's very reliable.
So, like we don't do shooter signing score sheets or anything like that. But what if someone like the timekeeper yells out a time that is ridiculously short and can't possibly be done, and it gets recorded? Because this happened at our match.
Then the RO should have ordered a reshoot. But you're not following any set rules, so you don't have you're not familiar with the procedures for how to fix that. All right, you don't have you're not a bunch of trained 3-gun shooters that have taken some kind of RO course like we have in IPSC, right? Who's going to RO? Like you're just making it up on the fly. It's outlaw 3-gun. When we have 3-gun, it's still being officiated by trained IPSC ROs, and they know how to handle situations like that. If the run should have taken 30 seconds and the guy looks at the timer and it says 13, well, there's a malfunction, and he orders a reshoot, and the competitor either takes the reshoot or is given a 0 for the stage. So if you start following USPSA multi-gun rules, all those what if happens are in there.
Well, I'm gonna start doing IPSC, and I think what I'm gonna try to do is take some of that rigor and try to apply it to our club, because we did have one shooter clock in a 24 on a stage that the best shooter ran like a 37 on, and ran a clean, nice, quick stage. So the timer wasn't picking up all the shots, and you can look at the timer and go, wait a second, there are only 15 shots here when it's a minimum 28 shot course of fire. Reshoot. Yeah, I think it was a case of someone reading something backwards, because if they like hit a 24 and a 42, like a 42 makes way more sense when your best shooter is shooting a 37 and someone picks up a 42 instead of a 24.
Yeah, transposing numbers like that is easy to do, and that's why you have multiple people verifying scores and stuff, especially at a major level event.
Well, I wouldn't consider our league a major 3.
Exactly, and that's why you don't have people verifying your scores and stuff. And that's cool. I mean, you guys are having fun, and that's great. So as long as everybody's out there having fun, nobody's getting their panties in a knot because so and so won because their scores got inputted wrong. You guys are all having fun. No big deal. Carry on. As long as you have your safety rules in place, have at her. And if you want to improve from there, that's your carry on at the level that you're willing to do that at.
Like it doesn't matter, but the person who got that really low score happened to be my buddy, and I happened to record his shoot, and then I happened to play it back for him, and it clearly wasn't 24 seconds.
Right. Well, the same thing happened to me last year, where
I threw him under the bus.
Yeah, no, the same thing happened to me last year, where the RO was holding the timer next to my pump shotgun when I unloaded it. And it picked up all those racks on the timer, and that's the time he gave me, and it cost me the match. And we saw it later on in the video.
Yep.
But whatever. Yeah. Muffin got a title. Good for Muffin.
You're not bitter at all about that.
No, I'm very bitter. What else did you do, Adriel?
Okay, that was 3 guns. So the FNS ran flawlessly. My shotgun ran flawlessly. My rifle ran flawlessly. And like accuracy was good. The misses were I missed 1 clay on my shotgun. I'm really happy with my accuracy. I think I need to now get faster in my pistol. So that's why I'm taking the black badge course. I'm going to do some more IPSC. Other than that, I've been doing a bunch of other weird stuff. So I've been getting into more 3D printing. I found a trigger. So if you put the Apex the competition, I don't know what it is, DCAK, the competition trigger that they have for it, it leaves a whole bunch of pre-travel on the trigger. And you've got this hinge trigger. You hinge the trigger, you pull it, and I think I measured it. It was like 4.6 millimeters, something around there, of just dead space. The trigger's not doing anything. It's got lots of room before it gets even close to that sear. And I found someone on Thingiverse who had a trigger designed to use more of that pre-travel, not all of it, but more of it, and was a lot stiffer. It's a wide, stiff, light plastic trigger, because with 3D printing you can do all these like weird waffle patterns and honeycomb patterns inside of a plastic shell to make them really light. And I ended up with a stiffer, lighter trigger that works better with that forward set sear, that now cuts it down to 2 millimeters. So there's 2 millimeters of pre-travel, which is a lot better than it was before. So now I've basically replaced this hinged, kind of spongy trigger with this stiff, the trigger piece at least. I mean, the sear still has a little bit of give to it. It's not like a glass rod or anything by any means, but it is a lot stiffer, and it's got a better feel to it because it's this nice, wide, really stiff trigger, and it feels great. So that's a real plus. I'm going to try printing one of those in ABS and then sending along. I know who I'm selling my pistol to, so I'm going to get them to try it out, and I'll make sure it's safe before sending along with them, I guess. I also submitted a 3D printed gun part to Thingiverse. If you want to see what that one is, just go ahead on, like, if you're into 3D printing and that kind of thing, go on Thingiverse and search Adriel Michaud. It's just my name. You can check it out there. Some people commented that it would be illegal in the U.S. if you were to put that on a firearm, but it's legal in Canada, so you'll have to see if you want to. And then finally, I bought a Tika.
I don't know if we want it. I don't know if he's allowed to say what it is. If it is what I think it is.
It's a kind of foregrip.
It's a kind of foregrip. Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Oh. Yeah.
Search that at your own discretion, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to say.
Yep. And then I bought a Tika T3. So if you remember, I had asked the listeners of the show, hey, go vote on this thing and tell me what kind of gun I should get for the hunting season. And the winner, and it wasn't by a large margin, but it was a significant margin. The winner was a Tika. So I got a Tika T3 from Elwood Epps. They had they had an inexpensive 30-06. I don't think I've hunted with a 30-06 other than my N1 Grand, so I'm gonna have to reload some ammo and take it out. And cool. I think the scope I'm gonna have to use for that is,
well, just open sight. Don't even worry about it. Just kind of look down the barrel. It'll be fine. Down the barrel? Yeah, just sight down the barrel. You'll be cool.
It might work in New Brunswick, but out here I might need a little bit more than that.
You just need to practice more.
I've got a red dot. I think I might use my Citron 6-24 though, just because it would be really ridiculous and it's so clear. So I'm going to try that on that Tika.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. That's all I did in guns this week. Kelly, what about
that's
you?
It, huh? Yeah.
An hour between the two of us.
This is going to be what we did in guns, main topic, listener feedback, and we're out.
We should warn the listeners to go get a snack.
I guess.
We already
Toby, if you're listening, you're going to need a full case.
We're going to need an intermission here in a minute. All right, Kelly.
All right. So I didn't actually go to the range this week.
Thanks, Kelly. Let's move on to. Oh, sorry, my bad. Carry on.
Yeah. So Ontario has been in a drought. We haven't had rain for like 2 months, and it all came last weekend. So I wasn't able to get to the range. But one of the cool things that we did do is we went out in the pouring rain and we checked out a Sherman tank. It was awesome.
A Sherman?
A Sherman.
Did
That's
you
my
shoot it?
father's favorite tank. That's awesome. Where was this thing?
I
at?
shoot it. So there's an association of guys, Ryan Harriman from SFRC, he belongs to this association. They collect all kinds of deactivated and different things from the military, right? So you're talking about deuce and a halves, and you're talking about Enfield motorcycles and different things. And somebody had a Sherman tank. Anyways, so they had a get together at a town about 5 or 10 minutes from Kingston, and we went out on the Sunday in the pouring rain and checked this out. Most of the stuff was packed up because again it was pouring rain and people weren't going. But we had a chance to check it out. It was awesome. Got my picture taken with it. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If she talks about tanks, can I talk about the air show?
No. Yes. Yes. Sorry, I didn't know where you're going with that. I had to just cut you off right away. But then you said air show, and now I'm in.
F-18 Super Hornets are my new favorite thing.
They are so cool,
There's
aren't
pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
they?
That's cool, Kelly.
Yeah, it was really cool. And what else did I do? Oh, so I'm going to Ohio in a couple of weeks. You guys knew that, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. So anyways, I had to put in my Form 6 because my Form 6 from back in March did not have my Glock on it, and I want to open carry in Ohio. So I had to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. ATF
Excellent.
are usually pretty good about turnaround times, but they haven't been lately. So I'm hoping that it gets back in time. So I emailed them with it, so hoping that it'd be quicker, but I'm not sure.
I got one once within 24 hours. I called them and was like, oh, I forgot to add this and I'm leaving in like 3 days, and boom, it was back.
Yeah, I actually included that into my email, but I don't know. I'm going to call them tomorrow, see if I can speed it up at all. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. We have to have Brian on. Brian saved somebody's life.
Yeah.
In case did you guys know that?
Brian who?
Brian Sheets from Valkyrie Defense.
Oh, yeah. I did. I only heard very little about that. Can you tell us a bit more?
He literally saved a man's life with a tourniquet. He was leaving the range after bullseye practice, and he was just like seconds from pulling out, and a guy ran out waving his arms. Brian thought that he forgot something. He's like, so-and-so shot himself. We need you now. So he went in. The guy was already sitting down. There was some argument about whether or not the pants were going to come off because the gentleman wasn't wearing underwear. Brian's like, I don't care. Anyway, Brian
They didn't come off.
No, they didn't
Sorry.
come off. Brian sees the entry and he starts putting pressure on it, and then all of a sudden they look down. There's a puddle of blood on the floor, and he wasn't even done his primary assessment yet when they found all the blood, and then saw the guy's sock looked a little funny. When they moved the sock, just as the guy's heart beat, and it acted just like an arterial, just squirted out all over him. I think at this point his wife called and said, "Are you hurrying up already?" Because he was on his way to his birthday party. He's like, somebody shot themselves. I'm going to be late. And she's like, yeah, whatever. Click, and she hangs up on him. So he goes back to work on the guy. And anyway, he put this, it looked like an arterial bleed. I think he found out later on that it actually wasn't. They thought it had nicked it or whatever. I'll let him tell the full story. But anyway, he put this tourniquet on there and he said, Trev, man, one more twist and it was going to break. That's how much pressure he had to put on this tourniquet to get the blood to stop. He got the blood to stop. Paramedics were happy that he used a tourniquet, thanked him for doing it, and they got him out of there and brought him to surgery. And basically, like, Brian stopped this guy from bleeding out. If he wouldn't have had his trauma bag, I think it was like 5 minutes after Brian was done working on him, the paramedics rolled up. That's how long the response time was.
And the thing is, nobody else had a kit.
No, and our range is no better. I talked to Pierre-Luc about this. We have a gun club, and what do we have? We got the scratch and dent, sunburn, bruised your elbow, first aid kit. What's the worst thing that could happen at a gun range? A gunshot wound.
Yeah.
So should we have the first aid kit appropriate for that? Anyway, so hopefully this story spreads and gun clubs get their act together and start having tourniquets and compresses on site, and none of these Shoppers Drug Mart $19 first aid kits. And Pierre-Luc, who bought some of these kits, said he went in one day, he cut his finger at the range, and he was having a hard time to find a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy the level of the gear that's in some of these dollar store and Shoppers Drug Mart first aid kits. You get like a couple rolls of tape and some gauze and some sterile like gloves and a tweezers. It's like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah. I noticed at SummerSlam somebody had a proper trauma kit in the camp, which was awesome. But next year, Matthew, you and I will each have our own, like Jason and Brian have. They
That's
keep
it.
one with them at either end of the line.
It makes perfect sense. Yep.
Yeah,
We
so
should
we'll
totally
have
do
them
that.
on. We'll find out what are in these things. I mean, we had him and Ken on. Well, we had Ken and who else on before? Maybe him and Jason. And we talked about trauma bags for the vehicle and stuff. We got to revisit this and get organized. Sorry, Kelly.
No, it's absolutely true. There was recently a concert here in Kingston, Ontario. Anyways, on Saturday night, and when we went, we brought our trauma bag.
Nice.
We did.
Awesome.
Gathering with 25,000 people in there, you never know what's going to happen, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
Only one person got arrested for drunk and disorderly. Just saying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't you, or was it?
No, it wasn't.
It might have been.
All right. So yeah, shout out to Brian because he did save somebody's life. So that was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty cool. Indeed.
So back to what I was doing in guns. We're fast and furiously planning the ladies shoot that's going to be happening at the Napanee Gun Range on the 17th of September. Yeah, I'm going to be bringing my guns, and I'm going to be donating some targets that were left over from the charity shoot as well, so that the ladies can try those out. And the other thing is, I also got some friends to sign up for it as well. So just spreading, the knowledge and getting some ladies interested in shooting. So that was pretty good. And what else? I'm prepping for Ohio as well. So, doing the line commands, reviewing those and everything, because they're a little bit different than most people are used to. And I got some really, 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 really cool stuff from Adriel. So I just wanted to say thank you to Adriel too, because not only did it get dummy round for 223 dummy round, I got match saver, I got an AR-15 pistol grip, I got Wonder Woman stuff, so cool. The buckle, I'm going to spray paint it gold, and I'll take pictures.
Yeah.
Don't think you're all of that in a bag of chips, Adriel. I bought her Wonder Woman stuff on vacation as well. So just saying.
I sent you some stuff, Trevor. Come on. Don't feel jealous.
In a box that had adult toy stuff labeled all over it. God.
Yeah, that was awesome. Mine
I got
was
one.
labeled. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, we're competing here. Everything's a competition. I have Wonder Woman stuff for you, too.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for thinking of me.
You're quite welcome. I bought something for you, and I bought something for Filthy, and that's it.
I think of you too, Kelly, but I don't put a value on it with dollars.
Matthew, I got something for you, too, actually, Matthew.
Yeah.
I got you this cool keychain thing that says I'd rather be flying.
Hey, and very nice.
Adriel, I'm sending
I'm
you a
the
bag of Yeah, you're getting a bag of
All right, and that's everything that I did with guns this week. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let's go on to the upcoming events then.
Do we want to just talk about the last one, because we're running really long in the tooth this week?
Yes, let's do that.
And then
concur.
maybe and then carry on with what's next.
I
If
can-
people want to
let-
know
let
what
me rip
upcoming
them.
events are coming on, just listen to last week's show or listen to next week's show, just not this week.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. The Handgun Fundamentals 1 and 2, July 15th and 16th, 2017 in Alberta. Send an email if you want to sign up. The next one here we have is the CAPS with Dave Young. Use of force, 2-day, 70% theory, 30% practical. Then when to shoot more than the how to shoot. They'll have the video simulator with live ammo, which you're going to learn about a little bit more during our main topic.
Yeah,
Next week-
there's a lot more coming up about that real soon here. I do want to talk about the course that Trevor and I are putting on in Alberta next year. We're pretty much we're about halfway full. The list is about halfway. If you want in on this, you better email soon. Otherwise, you're going to be on a waiting list. Just wanted to let listeners know.
Who else gets a course booked 1 year in
You're
advance?
It's almost as popular as SummerSlam. Coming back to the upcoming event, CAPS, the course with Dave Young, October 15th, 16th. Course is 2 days. It's part classroom, part practical shooting on the range, $400 per person. And yes, the rest of the details are in our upcoming event section, our main topic section.
There we go. We've got one of these here from Jason. We haven't read one for a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and rip through it real quick here. The Alberta Provincial Championships were held this past weekend at Shot Shell Sporting Clays in Valley View, Alberta. This is for Sporting Clays. Many thanks to Colin and Leona Dixon, who did a superb job of hosting this prestigious event that went as smoothly as any event ever has. Fantastic targets were presented in a prelim 5-stand 2-day main event. Congrats to Carl Brewster and Wayne Norton for winning the prelim and 5-stand events respectively. Both of them fought hard to win by shootout. And congratulations to Hunter Brewster for winning the Alberta Provincial Championship. This is a new record, as Hunter is now the youngest person to win an Alberta Provincial Championship. Sorry, Eric, you were 4 months older than Hunter when you won it. The new stats, rankings, and shoot results have been posted on the website. Please check the site before your next shoot to make sure you know which class you're going into. So that was the Sporting Clays Championship, and that was sent in by Jason Phil. Next, I think for the news, we can probably skip it just because we're going along here and head on into the main topic with Dave Young.
Joining us this week for our main topic, we have Dave Young from CAPS. Dave is a Canadian firearms instructor who does all kinds of different training at all kinds of different levels, and we are looking forward to hopefully working with Dave in the not-so-distant future. Dave, welcome to Slamfire Radio.
Thanks. It's nice to be here.
It's nice to finally meet you or have you on. You and I met finally in person after chatting online back and forth for probably at least 2 years off and on. It was nice to finally meet you this past June at the CCFR AGM.
Yes, it's nice to always speak in person, yes.
Yeah, definitely. So it was at that time that we got talking about you being our next course. I mentioned to you at the time that Slamfire Radio organizes a training course just about every year now for 3-4 years at the Rescue Gun Club. We've had instructors from the United States come up. And as you know, I've been to Mag 40, but we've never had a Canadian instructor of your caliber, that's for sure, come work with us. So why don't we get a little introduction from you? Who is Dave Young? How long have you been shooting, and kind of what got you into shooting, and then how that led into the training world?
Well, it's a long and involved story, but we'll touch on the highlights. Mm-hmm. I started back with an air pistol with my dad back in the 60s. And got into hunting through his efforts. Not really that he was a hunter, but he was the kind of a dad that would say, well, you know what, this guy here who's a friend of mine's a hunter, so why don't you go with him? And so he sort of promoted me to get into this stuff. In the 80s, I got into handguns, but as you've seen from speaking to me, I don't do anything halfway. So I went from getting into handguns in the 80s to becoming a competitive shooter, and then getting into things like the Second Chance Combat Shoot that I went to from 85 to 97. And I got into action shooting and helped set up the Canadian Action Shooting Association and shot the Bianchi Cup for 3 years in the 80s. And got into IPSC back before you actually needed to have a black badge in order to get into IPSC. In fact, the black badge course that I took, I actually co-taught. Then I became an IPSC section coordinator in the 90s, and ended up being vice president of the Quebec Shooting Federation in the 90s for a while we were fighting Bill C-68. But once that got passed, things moved squarely away with the Quebec Shooting Federation, and many of us left at that point. Started teaching in 87 with the first FAT system to ever come into Canada at a technical college here in Quebec. And the FAT system was the first video-based system that worked with laser guns, and is teaching security officers and police agencies as well as civilians. My idea has always been that anybody should have the knowledge necessary to be able to use a firearm to defend themselves. Whether the government allows them to carry a gun or to use a gun for self-defense, that's neither here nor there. But without the proper knowledge and training, that's a negative for all gun owners, that people don't know what they can and can't do. And anytime they screw up, the government decides there's another reason for us to all be disarmed. So that's been from day one my way of doing things. In the province of Quebec here, based on being a black badge instructor and an ISU level 1 instructor, that was enough in the 80s to become a permit to carry instructor, what we call now an ATC. And so I started training people for their permits to carry back in 87 at the same time as I had this FAT simulator. While using that machine, I decided that, you know what, it's really nice as a video game, but it doesn't really show anybody what they can do with real bullets. So I started thinking about building my own system, which would be a live fire system. And the best way to describe it would be the marriage between a DVD player and a range timer. So, and our motto of the company that I founded in 1992 is very simple. It's your gun, your ammo, no excuses. Can you do what you have to do when it's necessary to do so with what you actually carry or keep for self-defense? So that's where we got to now. Since I started building these machines, I've gotten involved with other places as well. I was an adjunct instructor at Smith & Wesson for about 11 years, and I'm currently an adjunct at Sig Sauer Academy, teaching use of force, more of the when than the how. One of the things that bothers me a lot is that we've got people who want to know all of the high-speed, low-drag, SWAT ninja moves, but could care little about knowing when those are needed. And that's always been an issue with me.
And I've
got over 100 of these simulators that I've built around the world now. And there's at least a dozen officers or agencies that credit the training that I've supplied or created with saving actual lives in confrontations. So that makes me sleep well at night.
Outstanding.
In 91, I wrote a book called Reasonable and Necessary, Defensive Firearms Ownership and Use in Canada, and redid it in 1994. And then after that, gave up on rewriting it because the rules changed so quickly that it's impossible to keep up to date with it. But a lot of the information that's in there goes into the courses that I still teach today. I've been certifying firearms instructors since 2006 for the armored car industry, as well as doing the armored car people. I did all of the Brinks training here in Quebec for 11 years, and still am involved a little bit with their instructor training. And that's basically where we're at right now. I've also been involved in the motion picture industry, doing firearms on movie sets. Got about 45 credits in that. Wrote the norms for using firearms on movie sets in the province of Quebec back in the 90s. And most recently, I hadn't been doing that in a while. I just finished up working as the law enforcement advisor on the TV series Quantico, which have now moved back to the States for next year. But I spent the year working on that as an advisor. Lots of fun. And the courses that I'm teaching now, I've been teaching them for quite a long time until we ran into problems with the chief firearms officer a couple of years ago when they finally woke up and said, hey, we don't want civilians having that type of information. And letting the clubs know here in Quebec that if they allowed my live fire simulator to be used as an unapproved target, that would be going against the legislation that allows clubs to operate, and they would lose their permits. So I happen to have a prototype machine that works with lasers using non-guns, which are not under the control of the CFO, and I've now modified my classes so the live fire course is basically a practical shooting course, and anything to do with use of force is taught outside of ranges and outside of their control. So that's the two courses that I'm offering now. One of them's called Use of Force, and the other one's called Practical Shooting 101. But by the time you finish both of those, you are as competent and as certified as anyone that the government allows to carry a firearm on the street with a permit.
So the Quebec government has brought you back to where you started. You went from lasers to bullets, now back to lasers?
Exactly, yeah. And I sort of had to swallow it a little bit because my way of looking at things was always, when I was selling our system, was that laser guns are for little green men in video arcades. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm back to little green men again.
Yeah. So the name of the two courses again are Use of Force and Practical Shooting 101?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the Practical Shooting 101 requires a range, and the Use of Force course, we won't even hold it at a range complex. We want it to be somewhere completely different.
Okay. So
just because, as everyone knows, the CFOs are drinking buddies, and what's good for one province will be good for the other as soon as they hear about it. So we don't want to be going around and saying, oh, why don't you come and do it in Ontario or New Brunswick? We wouldn't have a problem like that, just to find out that you do have a problem like that, you know?
Mm. Yeah, well, we're pretty fortunate right now in New Brunswick. We have a very reasonable CFO. His attitude is, if it's not in the Firearms Act, I'm not going to make it up.
Right. So, well, that's very nice. That's
yeah,
very,
it is.
very
Yeah.
good.
So the thing
I still offer the live fire course, the 2-day live fire course, but you'd have to go down to Sig Sauer Academy to take it.
Or New Brunswick.
Yeah, well, yeah. We haven't made the decision yet as to which way we want to go. If you would like to run it live and won't have a problem, yeah, we would give it a try. I'm really reticent to try and get anybody set up into a situation where they decide to say, well, your club is doing something that we don't like.
Right. Well,
I'll tell you to what extent it is here with our CFO. In my book, Reasonable and Necessary, I have a letter that was written to my wife by Kim Campbell, who at the time had just authored the storage norms. And her interpretation was that under Section 34 of the Criminal Code, which is the part dealing with self-defense, that if you were justified in using a firearm for self-defense, that justification would extend to the fact that you had a gun in possession and loaded and discharged it in a place where you normally would not be able to do so. Well, the chief firearms officer here at the meeting that I had with them in the early part of 2015 made it very clear that that's not their interpretation, and they don't care what Parliament says. If you take a restricted weapon out of storage and load it for self-defense without having an ATC, they will charge you.
Oh, yeah. They made that public.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yep,
that's just for you. And as you know, Trevor, I really want to avoid being a problem. I'm part of the solution.
Yes, of course.
And so I really don't want to end up going to some place and hear, oh, well, XYZ Club in some place is now in danger of losing their permit because they tried to give civilians the knowledge they need to not end up losing their livelihoods or their freedom.
Right. Well, we'll come back to that later on. But for now, the part that I want to touch on is the thing that has drawn us to your class, and that is your emphasis on the when as much as or more than the how. In Masada Youb's course, Mag 40, we spend 20 hours on the civilian use of a firearm in a self-defense situation, and it's all about when, not how.
Exactly.
How happens on the range. And just about anybody, you can ask Matthew and I, since we're teaching now, just about anybody can teach you how to shoot a gun, but when to shoot a gun is an area that's very much lacking in Canada. And yes, you're at the frontier of that. And I mean, I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but you are often referred to as Canada's Masada Youb. And I mean, I don't like to use that term either, because it's not fair to you, because you bring things to the table that Masada Youb doesn't bring. I know when people say it, they're saying it with the utmost respect, but I think what they mean is you're the guy in Canada that can teach you the how, but can also teach you the when. So
right. Well, I appreciate the comparison. I've had a funny relationship with Masad. We've been friends for years and years and years. In fact, my daughter, who's just is just about to turn 24, Mass was one of the people who sponsored a baby shower for my wife at Second Chance in Michigan the year that we were down there when my wife was pregnant with her. So there's been a pretty close relationship. In fact, there's been a couple of cases that have happened up here in Quebec where he was called up as an expert witness, and his first question was, how come they didn't call you?
Yeah, well, because they won't allow you to grow the way that Mass has been allowed to grow.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, if a civilian from Quebec was to testify as to wrongdoing of a police agency, that would make them look all the worse, rather than bringing up a law enforcement expert from the United States, where everyone knows they're better trained. Exactly. As common knowledge, though it is not true in most instances.
So, Dave, why don't we jump into the use of force and practical shooting 101, and maybe you can give us a comparison and contrast of those two courses.
Yeah, sure. Basically, the use of force, the 2-day program, is 70% theory and 30% practical decision-making on the simulator. So what we'll do is we'll actually demonstrate the stuff that we're giving you as examples of what to do and what not to do, and show you what the things are that come into play in a defensive situation. So you get theory, and lots of it, because I can go over some of the topics that we do cover in the class.
Sure.
But it's everything from choices of firearms and ammunition, proper storage so that you're not breaking the law, the need for self-defense, the right to self-defense, what the respect is for the police, and what their involvement is in any of these situations. The 5 keys to supporting your self-defense claim, defensive mindset, what the 4 outcomes are of any confrontation, the 4 potential ones. What about shooting to wound, warning shots, all of this stuff. The effectiveness of handgun ammunition and why multiple shots are necessary should you be using a handgun. Risks of overpenetration, how to find legal representation, the need for having self-defense training. Things such as, well, I'm a master class IPSC shooter. That should be more than enough. Well, no. Masad and I used to have these mock evenings just for fun, where I'd be trying to defend myself as an IPSC shooter who had been involved in a shooting. And so he would come up with this, isn't it true that on weekends you run around and shoot at targets as fast as you can, moving forward towards them in a very aggressive, fast-paced assault on them? And that's basically what IPSC is. When's the last time that you retreated in an IPSC match while firing?
Yeah.
All of these things come into play. So this is the kind of stuff that we need to cover. Then things such as authorization to carry. There are permits given for ATCs in Canada, but you'd be amazed at what gets involved with that kind of stuff. Permits given for 3 months until you prove again that the 4 people who have been the reason that you've had 4 police reports to back up your claim that your life is in danger are still putting your life in danger 3 months later. The idea that you'd get an ATC that would last 3 years is almost impossible to get. Issues of concealed carry. How do you identify yourself and not get shot by whoever's responding, whether you're carrying legally in the United States or here legally? Then we get into the legalities of the use of force. What is justified use of force? What are the jury instructions that are given in a self-defense case here in Canada, so that you can understand how they are going to look at it through what magnifying glass you will be examined under, what reaction time is all about, how close is too close. Then we get into use of force models. I've come up with a use of force model that has been from me doing nothing but being involved in simulations for years and years, that is called the imminent danger triangle, which is extremely easy to explain for anybody who's going to be facing a jury of your peers, to be able to explain why you did what you did. And that brings us to the perception of what's going on and how you articulate what actually happened. And then we get into the 4 levels of skill acquisition, 3 different levels of firearms training, how to defend yourself at home. Then we get into lights, steps in incapacitation of lethal threats, states of mind, tactical thinking, your natural reactions to stress, protective measures, what to do after a shooting, what rules of survival are involved in a confrontation, tactical errors to avoid. Then we get into what firearms qualification standards are all about. And then we get you onto the machine and have you face scenarios where you and your fellow classmates are judge and jury for each other. So you'll learn as much from the good points or the bad points of each individual who's in the class with you as you will from you actually firing or not firing at the screen. And then we sum it all up with what is reasonable self-defense. So that's basically what the content is for the use of force course.
So that one does not involve any live fire. That's the theory, and then the laser training.
Exactly. Well, it would be live fire should the range allow it to be. We would be, moving back and forth from the range back into the classroom and vice versa. When I do it in the classroom, the simulator being a laser-based machine, we have a non-firearm that you pull the trigger on in order to get hits on the screen and hear a gunshot when you fire. But we've set that right up in the classroom so we can go, just turn your seats around and look the other way and then come back to the PowerPoint.
Okay. So you can accommodate live fire or simulation.
Yes, that's how the machine was designed. As I say, the machine we're using for teaching this was a prototype that I came to build because some agencies were interested in purchasing our live fire machine, but since there were people who rented a range, they wanted to be able to set it up in the roll call room and be able to do strictly judgment with something other than projectiles, so they could practice year-long in between their biannual trips to the range.
Okay.
So that's why we decided to do that. But we came up with something that was going to be double the price, so it wasn't worth doing.
Right. Now,
but that prototype is what I'm using for the civilian classes where I can't use live fire.
Okay. Now, the live fire component, does it require an indoor range so that you can set up a projector, or can it still be done on an outdoor range?
It needs to be done. If we're doing it on an outdoor range, we use a tent. We'll set that up in the tent, and we'll be actually firing through the back part of the tent into the berm. Okay. And that gives us enough. Darkness. Think drive-in movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent.
We either do it at night or we're going to be doing it in a tent.
Okay. Very good.
But we use this thing at things like the National Patrol Rifle Conference and Competition in Detroit every year. They set the thing up in a tent, and we actually make a tunnel, and they'll have 30 or 40 or 50-yard shots on the screen using their AR-15s.
Wow. Well, we have 3 or 4 sections of an army tent that would suffice perfectly for this, I believe.
Absolutely perfect. Yeah. I mean, it's going to look like the moths got to it on the downrange part of it, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So I think that's the one for us because it covers so much theory that we don't normally get in Canada. And I know a lot of Canadians who take the courses that we organize here are defense-minded, but they haven't had the opportunity to go to Masada-Yub, which doesn't all necessarily apply to Canada. So there is certainly a demand for that aspect of training here in Canada. So I think that's the one for us. But nevertheless, quickly tell us what the Practical Shooting 101 course is all about.
Sure. Well, it's really just what it says. We're taking all the way through from, you've just got a handgun, all the way through to basically what would be a black badge course. However, all of the drills are more tailored towards self-defense. For instance, any movement and things like that are only accomplished with a fully loaded gun because you don't want to be slowing yourself down while moving from position A to position B. The reloading is done before you move, not during a move. Use of cover so that you're actually protected by something and what cover really is, because it's not what normal people would understand. And what we start off with, too, is a one-shot qualification. We get a lot of people who come in and say, yeah, I know how to shoot. Well, this was something I stole from the fellow who's in charge of NASA's law enforcement training, and they had a very small budget, so he has what they call a one-shot qualification. We take a 5x10 piece of paper, put it at 5 meters, and from the low ready, you have 1.5 seconds to put one round in the middle of it. And if you can do that, then we'll move on and use the other 49 bullets that we have in that box to learn something new. If not, we'll get it so that you can do that every time out. But this is the kind of that's important because, as you know, the first shot's going to be the most important shot you ever fire.
Exactly. And that's why it shouldn't be a warning shot. And then we get into all kinds of things from, how to draw to drawing drills, precision shooting, and the mixture between precision and speed, shooting extremely close, failure drills with the firearm, failure drills with somebody who's wearing body armor and things such as that. We'll get you into drills such as the Farnham drill as well, where you're actually moving and you're scanning, and we give you a 7 rounds qualification with this, which sounds like a whole very little ammo, but it's one of the most challenging things because you're going to be having to clear a jam, you're going to have to reload from a slide lock, and be moving when you're not shooting at all times. Mm-hmm. If you're standing there Velcro to the ground, that's a 0. Let's start over. And all shots have an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Wow. It sounds like a bit more advanced, but very similar to what Matthew and I are teaching.
Okay, good.
Sounds like
and we also get into pivots and turning and all of that stuff, and flashlights. There's very few people teaching flashlights, which to me is essential because most situations in the home are going to be in the darkness. I would suggest, and that's an important thing to be able to take care of, is how to deal with lights. And then we have a qualification, which is exactly the same as the qualification that we do with armed guards, so that we have a percentage there that goes on your attestation that basically shows that you're as competent as somebody that the government allows to carry on the street.
Exactly.
This is what it's all about. You have had the use of force training. It's the same content that I teach security guards and that I teach and certify instructors of companies who are going to go home to dispense this training to their employees who are getting ATCs. Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same idea as Masada-Yub using a modified FBI qualification test at the end of his Mag 40.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, so I could see us doing use of force year 1 and practical shooting 101 year 2.
Sure. Yeah, that would be a way to do it. Cool. I agree with you 100%, though, Trevor. The key one is the use of force one because that's the one that scares me the most. We've got a problem in Canada with people thinking that, well, it's so hard to be justified that, okay, I'm going to do whatever I have to do and we'll worry about it later. Well, you can do both. You can do whatever you have to do and be right and avoid a lot of what will come afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know, as I say, I know a lot of our friends and listeners have been taking the how to shoot classes, but want the when to shoot classes, but they don't really know where to get them. So now, by partnering up with you, we can make that available to our listening audience.
Right.
So, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I think some of my co-hosts have some questions for you, so I'll be quiet for a change and let them jump in.
Yeah,
All right.
Dave, it's Adriel here. My first question actually is I'm just reviewing this PDF that you guys have here for your CAP system. It's really cool. So it's like a projector kind of thing that projects on a paper thing, and you're actually like showing a live scenario and having someone shoot at the screen almost, right? And
Yeah.
it looks like
That's exactly right. It's a paper screen, and your bullets go right through it and are absorbed by whatever you've got in your range as a bullet trap. Yes.
awesome. So and then I'm reading here. So it reviews each shot, so you can see where you hit, and then you just kind of patch it up like you would any other target. So you can
Right.
keep
Yeah.
shooting up the same screen.
Exactly. Yeah, you can actually watch the video on the CAPS site, the CAPS machine site. I have two sites, one for selling machines and one for training. And how it basically works is after you've fired a number of rounds the instructor's programmed, because you never know what it's going to take in a gunfight, obviously, we can program it from 1 to 9 shots. And let's say you programmed it for 3. It'll pause after the third shot's fired, but when we hit review, it'll stop and replay the video 5 seconds before the first shot, pause on the first bullet, show you where that hole is, pause on the second bullet, show you where that hole is, and pause on the third. And then there's also teaching slides, which are the key frames. So, for instance, if you shot at a guy and there's a crowd behind him, it'll come up and there'll be little circles around all the people that you could have hit. Did you see them? Where did your rounds go? What ammo were you shooting? Did it over-penetrate? That kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's not
really
just faster than the bad guy. It's all encompassing with the tactics and everything else that's involved. Because every bullet that you fire obviously has your name engraved into it.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like those golf simulators. It's like a perfect combination of like real world equipment, because you're using your real world equipment with simulated scenarios.
Right. Well, I don't like to call it a simulator. I like to call it a training system, because we really don't simulate. We actually prove what you can or can't do. The only thing that would be more realistic than this would be actual bodies hitting the ground, because it is your gun, it is your ammo, and that's it. And
How much extra is
that? How we look at it is, when we're training snipers, we go out to 150 yards with this. The machine actually compensates for bullet flight time. The people's heads on the screen are exactly measured and reproduced so that they're exactly the same as they would be in real life. And we get to see if you can deliver the pill at the distances and under the time restraints that you would have to in the real world. And if you look at it from that point of view, we're doing the same thing with the handgun.
Very awesome. Yeah, very, very cool piece of kit and very specialized to what you need to do for training. For your book there, I was just looking, is your book still for sale?
It's available as a download from me. I'm not selling it anymore because the laws have changed so much that all it really does, and it's quite a sad thing, is that it shows you how much we've lost since Bill C-17 and Bill C-68. It's just absolutely incredible. There's a lot of stuff in there that we're talking about so far as choices of firearms and everything that are now illegal, obviously, because we were recommending what are now prohibited handguns, and if you don't have, you never will. And now the way the laws are, using anything for self-defense that has the word prohibited in its description is going to cause you more problems than not in court, regardless of how justified the shoot is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds
the
very
same
cool.
way as using a shotgun these days. Try to tell me that somebody using a perfectly legal, non-restricted, 26.5-inch overall length, 8-inch shotgun is not going to have that referred to as a sawed-off shotgun in the media.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to be dealing with why did you have a sawed-off shotgun? You must be a bad guy. You're perfectly legal, but guess what? The media don't care.
That's right.
That sells advertising, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So all kinds of things like this that come into it, too.
Okay.
One of my favorite lines, and the reason for taking the use of force course, is you don't know what you don't know until you've had this type of training, and I'm sure Trevor would back me up on that. There's just so much involved in this stuff that you haven't got a clue. I'm not trying to say that I'm the best and the brightest, but I do have enough, I think, that I can help you avoid many of the pitfalls. You know,
I would definitely back you up for sure.
As a consultant to help people out with this stuff, and I hope it's been beneficial. But that's the other issue, too, is having been a use of force instructor and inventing this system and doing nothing but doing use of force and judgment calls for this many years, somebody who could stand up for you in court based on what it was that you have done being correct I think that would be somebody to have in your corner that would be a real asset should the worst ever happen.
Absolutely. Matthew or Kelly, do you have any questions for Dave?
So, go ahead, Kelly.
No, go ahead.
No, you go first. Ladies first,
I'll
of course.
stop being Canadian.
Right.
Yeah, I'd
Dave.
rather speak to Kelly anyway.
Yeah,
There
no
you
doubt.
go.
Hi, Dave. It's Kelly.
Hi.
I just wanted to know if you're finding that there's more and more use of force cases that are going to court, whether it be police or civilians. Are you
Absolutely. I mean, if you use force of any kind, it's going to go to court. It really is. It's whether or not you're going to be able to get out of it easily or with difficulty. You need to understand that our criminal code, the way it's written, being able to claim self-defense is only a defense to having been charged for something. In other words, you've shot and killed someone, you're going to be charged with manslaughter. If you can show that what you did was reasonable, it will be then deemed to be a justifiable homicide, and because of our self-defense law, you will be exonerated. But you need to be charged before you can use the self-defense avenue to get yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm. So
Wow.
it's yeah. So
It's very, very
basically-
rare that they will say, yep, you did a good thing. And, the idea of patting you on the back while you blow the smoke out of the end of the gun, put it in your holster, and walk off to have a coffee, that is definitely just TV. You are facing some very serious stuff anytime you use a firearm. In fact, a couple of years just for having pointed it.
We actually had a case in St. John, New Brunswick within the last 2 or 3 years, Dave, where the guy didn't even spend 24 hours in lockup. He had been severely beaten earlier that day in downtown St. John, and a car full of guys went to his house later that afternoon with firearms to finish him off, and he killed 2 out of the 3 from his doorway before they came into his yard, and he didn't even spend the night in jail.
Right. Again, it all comes down to what perception is and based on what has been going on.
Exactly.
I'll give you another one that I see coming up all the time. You're going to have less problems if you disarm the bad guy of the weapon he's brought into your home and use it than if you produce your own.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Matthew?
Well, yeah, I was just, curious. How long did it take you, since you're in Quebec there, to progress from cap guns up to the laser guns and then, of course, the real guns after that?
Well, you mean from a point of view of training?
Well, you're called cap, so I just figured you started with cap guns, right? And you move on
Caps
to...
has been very good. That's what it says on my baseball cap. It says caps. So when I'm on the road and in the past traveling with many firearms, if I walk into a hotel to register and I don't want anybody to know what I'm doing, they say, "What's caps stand for?" I say, "Oh, we sell hats." And that's the end of it.
That's perfect. I love it.
That's awesome.
Now, seriously, though, I do have an actual question.
I might have an actual answer.
and this is probably something that would be covered in the course, so maybe it's a spoiler alert, but you did mention earlier that anytime you use any sort of firearm that had the word prohibited in it, you were immediately going to be in a world of hurt. Would you say then that a Canadian is probably better off using a non-restricted firearm and preparing to use a non-restricted firearm in case of self-defense instead of a restricted?
Well, that's a yes and no answer, I'm afraid, because here's the deal. Your main concern, if you're a person at home with family members, whether they be elderly or young children, is to secure them. And if you're trying to get them ensconced in a safe area where you can defend them properly, trying to carry a child with a long gun or trying to roll a wheelchair with a long gun is absolutely impossible.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, yeah. So I guess everybody's situation is a little bit different. You're going to have to decide for yourself whether or not, Grandpa's old shotgun's the way to go, or, your latest and greatest open IPSC gun. Of course, I probably wouldn't ever recommend that.
Again, we get into that and the idea of not using anything other than what a law enforcement officer in your area would be using,
right,
with the type of ammo that they would be using as well from a manufacturer who makes defensive ammo.
Is there any truth to the fact that if I have, say hypothetically, I've prepared or planned ahead and I have a couple of magazines loaded up with the type of ammunition that my local law enforcement uses. If I have that ready to go and somebody breaks into my house and I use it, will they not use the argument that, well, you wanted to shoot somebody because look at this, you have different and special ammo just in case somebody broke into your house, as opposed to using the full metal jacket stuff that you would use at the range?
I'd like to take
Right.
this one.
Well, it becomes a question of reasonableness. Okay. The reasonableness for that being there is police response times, first of all. And from the training that we give you, we're talking mere seconds before somebody can get to you once they're in your home. So you can waste the time calling 911, and if you survive, tell them what's going on. If not, you're not around to be able to say anything. So what we're trying to do is give you the least amount of problems should you have to face the unavoidable. But what we're trying to do with our planning is to make everything as avoidable as possible and to be able to document what you did to avoid it. And the reason for going with the law enforcement ammunition comes back to being reasonable. Full metal jacket has way too much penetration. It has way too little stopping power, meaning you'll have to fire more rounds, therefore increasing more chances for over-penetration and not having as much efficacy in stopping the person with fewer rounds. So
Right,
what is
and
more reasonable?
Yeah, and I understand all of that, and it makes perfect sense to me. But won't a jury look at me and say it wasn't reasonable for you to have hollow point ammunition in your house because you didn't have any credible threats against you when you went and bought that ammo?
That comes back to the training that of how you will articulate what you did is what any reasonable person, knowing what you knew at the time you purchased that ammo, would do.
Exactly. Yes. It's more reasonable to be using that type of ammunition than what you would normally think of using.
And you'll learn how to articulate that in court so they will understand it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Very good. Okay, Dave. Well, here's what we'd like to do. We would like to have you come teach a class at the Rescuers Gun Club in October. Sure. Date to be announced. So listeners, if you are available some weekend in October, send us an email with your interest, and then we'll talk with Dave here. We'll announce a date probably as early as next week, and Dave will handle the payment end of things. We'll announce the price next week and how you can pay Dave, and we'll handle everything else, setting up the range and whatnot, and communicating with Dave. So it's definitely going to be October, hopefully earlier October than later, but I am committed to go teach a black badge in Prince Edward Island the long weekend. So maybe the weekend after that, we'll have to see what works with Dave. But in the meantime, listeners, if you liked what you heard and are interested in taking a class from Dave, it will be the Use of Force 2-day class. Dave, you want to throw out the price on that one right now?
Sure. The price is $400 plus whatever the applicable taxes are wherever we're running it.
Okay, so we'll be running it in New Brunswick. So it'll be $400 plus New Brunswick sales tax payable directly to Dave. You can contact him through his website to arrange payment. All we need now, we have the course, we have the price. We just need a minimum number of participants and a date. So how many people do we need to make this a go, Dave?
We need to have at least a dozen and a maximum of 15.
All right, so we need between 12 and 15 people that are interested in taking this, $400 for 2 days. Consider that's what Matthew and I charge, and you're getting a lot more bang for your buck, not to shoot us down, but shoot us down. See what I did there?
I do. That was a good one. Yeah. Please don't shoot us down.
Please don't shoot us down.
Bang for your buck. I like that, too.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a new one. Yeah.
So, look, if we charge $400 and you're happy to pay it, then this is a real bargain because you're getting knowledge that Matthew and I can't provide. And hopefully you're picking up some skills as well. 70% theory, 30% practical. This is, I'm going to say it again, this is Canada's Masada Yube. This is the only place where you're going to get the theory end and the legalities that you need to keep yourself safe both in and out of the courtroom. So I highly recommend everybody sign up for this. Send us an email. Let us know if you're interested, and we will announce a date very shortly. Anything else, Dave, before we let you go?
No, just if they'd like to see the contents of the course, they can go to the website for the training, and that is at caps-training.com.
Okay.
And if they'd like to see the machine, there's a video of it being used on our sales website, which is caps-inc.com.
Okay, and we'll include both of those links in our show notes when the show goes up tomorrow, so people can click on those and go right over and check out your website and those videos, and then hopefully start signing up in droves.
Good.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you again on behalf of the hosts here at Slamfire Radio, Dave. It was a real pleasure having you, and hope to talk to you again real soon.
Well, it was great to be with you guys. Thanks.
And again, I wanted to thank Dave for coming on. That was really informative, and I think that, like, I wish I was on the East Coast because I wish I could get into that course.
Hey, we flew out to see you. You can fly out to see us.
Can I teach a 3-gun course out there? Is there some way I can, schmiggle my way in there with having
Maybe.
my flights paid for? Yeah.
Couple of things we need to point out: that the class will be a minimum of 12, a maximum of 15. The course fee is $400, and you need to sign up and pay by October 1st. So email us if you're interested, and then we'll put you in touch with Dave to make arrangements for payment. It'll be at the Rescue Gun Club Saturday and Sunday. If you need a place to stay, book your room early. Matthew's room is already booked, and possibly, hopefully, Kevin and Kelly's room is too, right, Kevin and Kelly? You'll get back to me on that. So anyway.
But Adriel will be there too, of course. Adriel can have the couch.
No, Adriel can spoon with me. I owe him something. So, and Adriel, your little spoon again.
Oh.
So yeah, for October 15th, 16th, book by October 1st, $400. This will sell out fast. This is Canada's version of Masada Yub. This is the closest thing to a Mag 40 you're going to get in Canada. This is about the how, the when to shoot, not how to shoot. 70% of this is theory dealing with the legalities of self-defense. This is the only place you're going to get it, kids. You need to sign up.
Yeah, this is one of those courses that you're going to be very thankful you have taken if you do ever end up in a situation where you've got to use some sort of self-defense force, because this is going to save your butt in court. This is the aftermath stuff. This is the important stuff where, sure, maybe you're still alive, but the rest of your life isn't going to be spent rotting in a jail cell.
Yep. And even better yet, maybe this will teach you how to stay out of a shooting.
Absolutely. Maybe you can avoid the situation altogether just simply because you know now a little bit more carefully what the law actually says.
Yeah. So check out the links for Dave's website. They're in the show notes, and get back to us soon.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's head on to listener feedback. This first one's from Ohio Gobbler. Matthew, did you want to take this one?
Do I ever? He says, I love your show and have been a regular listener for about 2 years. I took your recommendations on a first turkey/all-purpose shotgun, and you were 100% right on the money. I got what I needed at a good value and no regrets.
Hey, man, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody remember what we recommended? I think it was it's what he mentioned later in the email, I guess. But that's what I thought it was that we recommended, right? The Mossberg's 535?
I don't remember what I had for supper 2 hours ago. Come on.
Yeah, that does make sense, yeah. Anyway, he continues on. Any medium budget, less than $2,000, recommendations on a good all-purpose skeet/trap gun. I have found my shoulder is sore after shooting a 12 gauge for 25 rounds, and that's out of the Mossberg 535 ATS, or it's sore after 50 rounds out of a Beretta autoloader. Over and under versus an autoloader, both. What do we recommend?
What about a Dominion Arms backpacker?
That's what I was going to say, especially one of those mag-fed ones.
No, the backpackers, they're break open 14-inch one there. That's with a fixed cylinder.
Yeah. Or better yet, one of those little Boito hikers. It's 410. It's 12-inch long barrel with no choke. That'll be just fine. Your shoulder won't hurt, but you're not going to hit nothing.
Well, maybe he's skilled enough to put the hits on target. It's advanced.
Very advanced. If your shoulder's sore after shooting 50 rounds out of a Beretta, well, first of all, I have to ask you, are you shooting target loads or are you shooting full hunting loads? And if you're shooting target loads, you're gonna toughen up a little bit, maybe. Any 12 gauge auto loader that's shooting target loads, you shouldn't be sore for quite a while. They're fairly soft shooting. And if that is a consideration where your shoulder is sore after shooting that much, man, that is a tongue twister right there. I would definitely recommend an autoloader over an over-under. Over-unders do not absorb recoil at all. It goes directly into your shoulder because there's no action to cycle. The recoil goes straight through the stock, and then hopefully you have a nice recoil pad on there because that's the only thing stopping that recoil from hitting you. So, yeah, I say autoloader, but which one? I don't know. I'm not the expert there.
Well, if you're just going to shoot trap with it, and that's all you're going to do, the surprising, the Remington 1100 isn't a bad one. It's very light shooting. It's a gas operated shotgun. It's not super flexible, so it's not good to use for trap and skeet and for other things. But if all you want to do is shoot target loads with it and have a light recoiling shotgun, it's not a bad place to start.
Yeah, that'd be good. Is the Beretta that he's talking about here recoil operated or
gas?
What's that?
The Berettas are all gas.
Oh, they are gas. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's the 1100 should theoretically be just as soft shooting as the Beretta is, then, right? Because the So
the A300 or something like that would do the trick. If he wants to get into competition with it over the long term, the 1301 is a really screaming deal from Beretta, and it's like fully kitted out for competition, mostly for like 3-gun and that kind of thing. But you could use it for trap just fine because it's an auto loading. Comfortable, ergonomic, extend the butt stock or change the cant of it, kind of an auto loader. So it would do just fine for trap.
And the other thing, like Adriel just mentioned, you can consider if your shoulder is sore after shooting. Yeah, I said it right that time. Getting a shotgun that fits you actually may help quite a bit. Maybe you're of a abnormal stature, and so maybe the shotguns you've been shooting just don't fit you properly. Do a little bit of research on how to fit a shotgun to your particular sized body, and that might actually help manage the recoil a little bit better as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kelly, did you want to take the next one?
Yeah, the one from Sharp 97?
Yeah.
Okay. So Sharp 97, he sent us an email asking, just wondering if stuff ever got hairy for us gunnies, would a Form 6 help? And he also goes on to say, also, is it okay or illegal to pinch the lips of a 45 millimeter mag to hold 9 millimeter?
You can hold a lot of 9 mil in a 45 millimeter mag. I don't know of any 45 millimeter. Man, that's that's a lot of. So here's the thing on the mags. The RCMP has made it known that their opinion is that if you modify a firearm to accept a magazine that will allow you to shoot more rounds than normal, that's apparently perfectly fine. But as soon as you start modifying a magazine to hold any more rounds than what it would normally hold, then you're in no land. You can't do that. So if you get a mag, say a Glock mag, and you need to, like you say here, I'm guessing you meant 40 cal or maybe even a 45 cal. Not millimeter, but if you're thinking that you can just kind of squeeze the lips together a little bit better so that it holds the 9 mil and they don't pop out the top, the RCMP is going to frown on that. They're going to charge you. You can't modify a magazine to hold more cartridges than it's supposed to hold. If it holds those cartridges and doesn't require any sort of modification, you're good to go. I mean, you can stuff as many rounds into a mag that it'll hold, and as long as it was only designed to hold less than what the criminal code says is prohibited, you're good to go. But you can't modify the magazine. Modify the gun, cool. Modify the mag, not cool.
Not cool. And the Form 6 is only a temporary import license.
Yeah, so you would be able to take your guns across the border if they got really bad. The laws got bad here, but they're going to have to come back across eventually. So you'd have to permanently export them if you want to keep them, and then you'd have to have some place to store them in the States. So hopefully you have family members or something that would be able to take your guns and hold on to them until either the gun laws got better or you moved or whatever.
Well, what if the gun laws got so bad here, you use your Form 6 to move over there, like to go over there on a tourist visa or whatever, and then you applied for refugee status, saying, hey, no, Canada's oppressive. As a gun owner, I am being discriminated against. I need to apply for refugee status here.
I like the way you think. Definitely. This is what we are going to recommend from now on. I don't understand how this could possibly not hold water.
Let's just see who wins the election first, okay?
Trevor, did you want to take the next one?
Sure. Where are we here? I've been busy sending emails.
Stu.
From Stu. Hello, ladies and gents.
Who's the extra lady? Sorry,
Trevor, and then Matthew and Adriel, and Kelly, of course, the ladies. So Trevor's definitely the most ladyish of the three of us. He's got the highest voice, the least amount of body hair.
Are we finished?
Nope.
Really figure. Okay.
Stu goes on. He says, All of your co-hosts are big fat jerk faces. Trevor is the best.
Wow.
He says, "This is the worst podcast ever." Just kidding. You guys are the best.
See, look and listen, Stu. You gotta let that sink in a little. You can't just say "just kidding" right away. You gotta wait till the end of the email. Otherwise, we're just like, oh, well, not gonna take you seriously now.
No, we just would have deleted the email and moved on.
Exactly.
He knows us.
Yeah.
That's why he corrected himself. He says, "I've heard about your podcast for a while on an online board that shall not be named. I never got around to listening to it until last February when I had a hernia surgery and a lot of time on my hands. I'm glad I did."
I'm sorry you had a hernia surgery. Well, I'm glad you had the surgery. I'm sorry you had a hernia.
Yeah, well, I've got a hernia operation coming up this fall, so I wonder what.
Yeah, but
I'll
nobody
have to
cares
listen
about
to.
you. Carry on.
Right, it's not about me, it's about Stu. The first podcast that I downloaded was the one where Kelly was substituting for some slacker that decided to skip an episode. After that,
Sorry.
yes, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
After
We're
that
glad you stuck around, Kelly. We really are.
Thanks.
After that episode, I binge listened to many of your older podcasts and loved it. I must say, having a female on the show makes it a much more enjoyable to listen. Yes, okay, that sounds fine. He wrote that correctly.
He
I read it
did?
incorrectly.
No. You read it correctly. He did not write it correctly.
You'll just have to go with me on this one, Matthew.
Oh, okay.
Very pleased that Kelly is willing to put up with you guys now every week. I did take a while off listening to you guys and was listening to U.S. gun podcasts, but it is really boring in comparison to your show. They're basically just advertisements for a few sponsoring brands, and the constant focus on CCW makes them not relevant to an average Canadian, except the Reloading podcast, which is good. You're welcome. Love the humor and the natural, easy way the show flows. I'm catching up on past episodes now and just wanted to let you guys know how much I appreciate your contribution to the firearms community. I've never done any reviews of any kind of a podcast or anything else, so please feel free to feel very special. And we do. Smiling with his tongue out. So it's literally translating his emoji cons. That's funny. I don't have an eye crap, so I don't know what that means. I don't have an eye crap.
Any eye.
Oh, he doesn't have any Apple products.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't have an eye crap. So 2 thumbs up and I'll give 5 gold stars. That's 5. Count them, 5 gold stars. He has answered the call. I'm not sure what's the deal with the manatee flippers, but give yourself 2 if you like. Keep up the great show. Thank you, Stu. Well, thank you, Stu. And we appreciate you taking the time to write in. Anybody who's got Philp?
I got Philp. From Jason Philp. Can you recommend a bipod? I bought a cheapie, $20. Well, that's real cheap. It's lasted 3 years. I need a recommendation for one that can be attached by a sling mount or... Question. Will be mounted on a 17 HMR, maybe a 22 until I get an SKS. Does Tapco make a good one? Should cost less than $150.
I love how he wrote that out, too. I would say that if you got 3 years out of a $20 bipod, I would get another one, because $20 till, every 3 years, till you're going to be out less money than if you go buy a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Trevor replied to you in the email, anything Harris is good.
Now, I've got a Champion bipod, which I'm pretty sure is like garbage Chinese stuff. I've had to replace some of the nuts on it, and once, and I threw some Loctite on there, and it's been fine. That was the one that Trevor, you used when you're out gopher hunting. It was just that, and I've had that thing for 7 years. So
cool.
Yeah, I guess if you're willing to buy new nuts and Loctite them.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
It really isn't. In fact, that's what I usually do. I buy something cheap and crappy, and then I end up fixing it. But my fixes usually last, so I feel better about myself that way.
Yeah, Harris is good too.
Yeah,
they make good stuff. Matthew, did you want to take the next one here from James?
Sure. Hey, Trevor, where's my gun?
I don't know.
Sure. All right. I've been jonesing for a STI Stock 3. While I've been waiting, I bought a Flipperosity SIG 320 in 9mm for 61,700 Canadian pennies plus tax. Pretty good,
nice
I thought.
Work.
Yeah.
Because he should have written it like that. but you still got it.
I still got it.
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
I know how to do numbers. I do the numbers.
No, Adriel, no commas. No commas, Adriel.
What are you doing a space for? Come on, you throw a
Because that's
comment
how
in
you
for
write
thousands.
numbers in English in Canada.
Oh, man.
James Bork wants to know where his gun is. James was the first one to win. What? No, he wasn't the first one. Anyway, he won an STI off the prize table at SummerSlam, and I transferred it today. So
It's on its way.
yeah. So while jonesing for an STI Stock 3,
He
who
bought
was
a
not.
flip. Yeah.
Yeah,
So he bought a Flipperosity Sig 320. So by the way,
makes
he
perfect
has.
sense.
Yeah. By the way, he continues. I have a Sig 320 for sale. Never been shot. Too much flipperosity for my liking. How do you know it's got too much flipperosity if it's never been shot? Or is that one of those CGN's never been shot? Only 50 rounds through it.
Exactly.
2 days later, bought a Benelli Super Black Eagle chambered in 3.5 inch, slightly used with 6 chokes, not a scratch or rust on it. Paid less than what your Versamax is sold for. And it's a Benelli, not some crummy Remington. You can direct hate mail to trevorf@gmail.com. Trevor can forward it to me.
And I sure will.
SummerSlam was great again this year. You keep outdoing yourself. Your ADD is unbelievable. My only complaint was I concussed from an open gun in the training or in the old space shuttle. Need a blast shield to RO those open guys. Earplugs and my faithful motorboating gear ear sponges were not enough for
Hashtag.
Shane's weapon. Yeah, hashtag motorboating
that's
ear
a
sponges.
hashtag, yeah.
Yeah, I don't number sign. It said number sign plus sign
Yeah.
pound. My only complaint is the lawn was in need of a trim. Pierre-Luc 10 gauge master.
He's going to sell that 10 gauge actually. Beautiful double barrel 10 gauge.
Why is he
I've
going to
seen
sell
that.
it?
He's possibly making some life changes and potentially looking at a career in the armed forces, and he wants to just be light and ready to go if need be.
Interesting. You should
So
have
he's-
seen him, and this wasn't to you, Trevor, because you did see him, but for everybody else, you should have seen him working that 10 gauge on the X Metal Steel targets at the at the SummerSlam. He was. It's got 2 triggers and 2 barrels, and he was pulling them both at the same time.
Yeah, he was. He's a madman.
Man, it was crazy. Anyway, James continues on. Question to Frosty. To open the loading port on the Benelli, Dremel it, or is there anyone that can machine it? Just want to open it up to help loading for 3-gun. What are the rules and how many rounds can be in the gun at the beginning of the course of fire? What should I carry on my belt for a course of fire? Rounds of pistol, shotgun, and 223. I've only shot IPSC and did 1 Daniel Shaw course. Boys, get on another course, or maybe we could go motorboating. I'm in. Remember, boobs. I'm sold. Cheers.
I'm texting him now.
He'll probably want to get on this CAPS course, that's for sure.
Can't
Leave it to
him
James.
Him
Open
and Don.
Go ahead, Adriel.
Sorry, we've got a little bit of delay here. To open up the port on the Benelli, yeah, you can machine it. There's different places that will machine it and do a really nice job of it. I think, was it Tactical Ordnance that focuses on shotguns and
Casey,
Benellis?
yeah.
And,
Casey Attack
Basically,
Ord.
Attack Ordnance, yep.
Yep.
And I think Nathan at Osprey Ordnance, Nathan Anderson, out in BC, he'll do some work too. I mean, he's repaired mine and he sells followers and bolt releases. So there's another option.
yeah, there's,
Either one
there's
of
some,
these, yeah.
yeah, good options out there. I mean, yeah, you can Dremel it yourself, but a Benelli is kind of nice. So,
No. Go with the Dremel. You'll be fine.
if you want to go quick, use the grinder, not
Yep.
the Dremel.
Get the
Dremel
big
works.
old bench grinder even. Just kind of hold the shotgun receiver up to it and just kind of press it on. You'll be fine. Just send us
hard.
pics when
Lean
you're
into
done.
it.
Yeah.
Lean into that sucker
Yeah.
and, until the sparks fly, and still it gets red hot. In terms of round count, now it really depends on your local club that runs your shotgun and your 3-gun. But I find that 2 mags of Beowulf mags for your AR, up to 4 for pistol, and in terms of shotgun, at least 16 or so, being able to reload. And now that should cover you for dry starts and all that kind of thing, right?
Cool.
It depends on the rules being run at the club. We run IPSC, so you can't start with more than 9 in the gun.
You won't get more than 9 in a semi-auto in Canada. So in a semi-auto
That's
in
right.
Canada, you'll run like at the most with a 3.5-inch chamber. You'll run 7 in the tube, 1 ghost load, 1 in the chamber for a total of 9. With a 3-inch, you'll be 1 less.
8.
And
We do that for pump as well. It doesn't matter if your gun can hold 20. You only start with 9.
yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of guys. I haven't seen a lot of guys out there with like a pump gun with like a 15-round tube or anything silly like that, right? I think there's a twist kind of a magazine that you can get for the 870 that has like a weird quad tube that's out in the front, but like I haven't seen any of those. I don't think anyone's
Didn't
going to
they
run those.
ban that because it also fits on the semi-auto, and they said that was technically more than 5 rounds in the mag?
Well, so does the 870. The 870 one will fit onto the was it the 1100 or the other one?
Yeah, so because it fits on the semi-auto, they said no, you can't have that in Canada, and so we can't actually get them.
Well, I've got a +5 for my 870.
Oh no, I mean the quad loader thing. Is
Oh,
what
I
I was
see.
talking about.
Well, that'll get you more on a semi, but like even with my mag tube that I've got on my 870, it'll fit onto a semi-auto Remington. I mean, you could potentially get more than the allowed.
I'm not saying it's logical. I'm just saying I'm pretty sure that's what they said.
Probably seems to make sense. Yeah. If you'd like to email the show, just send an email to slamfireradio@gmail.com. For iTunes reviews, we didn't have any this week, but if you'd like to leave one, go ahead and log on to iTunes. I know you don't want to, and iTunes sucks, but that's kind of the place where podcasts get reviewed until Google gets their act in gear and starts to have the reviews there.
Yeah,
Please review us on
Stu.
iTunes.
So I don't care if you got iCrap stuff or not. Go give us a review on iTunes anyway.
Yeah, log in.
You can
make an
do it in your
account.
browser. You don't actually have to download iTunes, I think. Or do you actually have to download iTunes?
I don't know.
You do.
I don't know.
You have to actually have.
You can't do it from the browser. All right, Stu, you're off the hook because I wouldn't want you to have to actually download that piece of garbage. I hate iTunes.
For the people who have downloaded that piece of garbage, thank you very much. We've got 138 5-star reviews, 107 Canadian, 28 US, 1 Australian, 1 UK, 1 Lithuania, and 1 from Belgium.
That's awesome.
Any shout-outs?
Yes.
I had a couple.
Go ahead, Kelly. I got a couple too.
Okay, I was going to give one to Adriel for all my Wonder Woman stuff, woo, and all the other stuff too. Thank you. And also to Brian Sheets. I heard he was going out to get a superhero cape right afterwards as well. So, awesome. Just want to say hey.
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 And on that note,
I
Trevor?
I want to shout out all the awesome people that I shot with and met in British Columbia. And hope you check out the show. And thank you for letting me beat up your guns. And Rod, thanks for the awesome bacon burger and showing me your gun room. Yeah, there's a lot of sweet stuff in there. Doesn't have a lot, but what he has is awesome.
It's always nice when it's a gun room and not a gun safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd like to shout out our new Patreon supporters. So we got a bunch last week. We've got Chad G, Kevin L, Ryan B, Adrian R, Rob B, and of course Mike, who had sponsored us the week before. And one funny thing that I saw, Chad sponsored us for $5.56 per month, so 556.
That's awesome. I think 762 is another good number.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you could. I mean, hey, you could sponsor us with $3.08 a month.
Or-
it's up to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
But we are a metric after all, so 7.62 is really,
That really is
more
the
correct.
Canadian way.
yeah.
Oh,
No,
you guys are
thank
all
you.
awesome. I
Very.
wasn't sure where we were going to get with this Patreon stuff, but it's actually starting to turn into something where we're actually going to be able to actually cover the cost of the show, where it's not going to come out of our own pockets anymore, which is that's really cool. You guys don't know what that really means to us. To think that people will send us money to continue to listen to us, that just blows me out of the water.
And we're not having to pay them. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, as much, right? So.
I actually made a new page on slamfireradio.com. So on the website, there's like a support this show. There's the Patreon link under there. That's the easiest. But if any of you are going to buy something from Brownells or Cabela's anyways, we've got a couple of links on there. And if you click that link and then you go buy from them, they kind of like count us as commission for bringing that sale to them. So that's another way of helping us. And if you're going to buy something from Cabela's or Brownells anyways, that's an easy way to do it, right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Any other shout-outs, guys?
That's it for me.
I just want, Thomas Bryant. I just got to continuously shout him out because he keeps sending me guns. It's awesome. I'm actually getting ready to ship his gun back to him, so I'm not actually going to keep it until I get my PIR back because I found out it's going to probably be the end of October, and I just don't feel right keeping his rifle for that long. So, Tom, your rifle will be in the mail soon. Speaking of which, though, I'll need your mailing address, so if you want to email me with that, that'd be cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I got some Lucky Charms out to him, some of those targets you guys left over. So
awesome.
Him and his buddies are going to be shooting those. Just to sign off here, please join one or more of our national firearms associations, such as the CCFR or the CSSA. It's important to support those who support us. Check us out on Gun Owners of Canada. That's a forum where you can go to find other cool gun owners out there and comment on us. We've got a thread over there. Like us on Facebook. We've got quite a few likes there. We've got 1,514, 109 thumbs up, 15 gold stars and counting, 2 flukes, 4 manatee flippers now. That's up from last week. 2 kangaroo thumbs, and 1 safe space.
You got the extra gold stars too, right? That we were at 10, we're at 15 now. Is that the...
That's exactly
awesome.
correct.
Perfect. I just got to make sure we get all our gold stars because that, as somebody who works in the education system, gold stars are basically where it's at.
The currency.
Absolutely.
The kids are trading them for smokes. Kids are getting beat up for them in the backyard.
No. We need to do this right. We need to do this like an elementary classroom. We get a chart and we put it on the wall and we put all the other Canadian pro-gun podcasts on there so they can look up and see how many gold stars they have in relation to everybody else and feel bad about themselves. Wait, no, it's supposed to motivate them to try harder. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
But I think it's the other way.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get a gold star.
Not with that attitude, Tommy.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and good night.
So if you have any comments or questions for the show, please send an email to slamfireradio@gmail.com. Now go grab a gun and shoot something.
When the talking is over, it's time to get a gun.